Good morning, everybody. I'm really impressed. I was a little bit anxious about being the first slot on the last day after the night before, and I had images that people would be out and about in Berlin at 3 and 4 in the morning and not be here at 8:45. I'm impressed. Thank you. So I'd like to talk to you about 10x transformational journeys. 10x is something that's very important to Google. It comes up a lot with our customer engagements. And often, it is a journey. I'm going to give you some interesting stories, but a lot of those customers had difficulties along the way. So I want to share with you how to avoid those common pitfalls. And for a bit of fun, you, my friends, are going to be mountaineers on this journey. So a little bit of background as to me. I work for Apigee, which is part of Google Cloud, and we were acquired almost 2 years ago. And we're very proud that we're on the Gartner Magic Quadrant as a leader for the third time in a row, and the overall highest for ability to execute and completeness of vision. I believe there's some handouts where you are, but also do visit our booth if you'd like to know more. Apigee is a company that's been in this business for 10 years, so everything I'm going to talk to you about today is based on that experience, working very closely with our customers along this journey. I'm an ex-developer, ex-architect, ex-CTO of a startup that kind of survived for about 5 years, but ultimately failed. And now I work with business and technology leaders on their digital initiatives. Last introductory slide. There's a lot of buzz at the moment about Istio. If you're interested to learn more about service meshes and API management, internal APIs and external APIs, please do speak to my colleagues. I'm going to ask them to wave. This is Kevin and Sarah. Right, please do speak to them to find out more about that world. I'm not going to do justice to the world of microservices, Pivotal, Cloud Foundry, Istio, Kubernetes. So this week is a big week for Google. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary, and it's been quite a journey. If you think when we first launched, certainly our homepage was actually more complex than it is today. Our first servers were pretty minimal viable products. In fact, this is a server that is mainly composed out of Lego bricks, and now has a permanent home in Stanford Museum. And 10x is very much a principle that underlines a lot of what we do. So whenever we're faced with an issue, faced with something that we want to achieve at Google, we always look through the lens of 10x. So we're trying to avoid incremental improvements. And what that lens gives us is it really kind of shakes out how you can execute. So the kind of common processes, the common business as usual, cannot apply because you're going to 10x something. Larry Page has this great quote of, if you're not doing some things that are crazy, you're doing the wrong things. Now, this has allowed Google to have some pretty substantial bets, whether that's Project Loon, the Google Contact Lens, Waymo, or AlphaGo. Now, I'm not saying go to your bosses tomorrow morning and say we need to build a helium balloon. But I am saying that do take these principles, do take that lens of 10x back with you and apply it on your day-to-day jobs. What's really interesting is that Google is often referred to as a platform business. But actually, there are multiple platforms and multiple ecosystems at Google. And we're going to touch on platforms and ecosystems in a moment. If you think of YouTube, a content platform with multiple different types of partners and producers of content, and a wide variety of consumers consuming that content. If you think of Android, okay, so it's an open source ecosystem, but a vibrant ecosystem of partners working within that ecosystem. And then if you think about the global compute and network of Google, managed as this global system, we have Borg, which has now blossomed into Kubernetes. It has its own very vibrant ecosystem. And Borg underpins Google Cloud Platform, our commercial cloud offering. That is in itself its own ecosystem. And by making sure that pretty much everything that Google works on is a platform that can nurture an ecosystem, we can leverage network effects of growth. We can be very adaptive. We can be quite flexible. We can course correct with ease. Great quote from William Gibson, the author. So the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Lots of organizations look at what the digital native organizations are doing and want a piece of that pie. But we have a problem. 59% of businesses indicate they're at a point of digital impasse. And I thought I'd experiment with some German pronunciation, Sackgasse. Do I get away with it? This is a significant problem. There are expensive digital transformations happening that perhaps are mired in bureaucracy and process. Perhaps they're mired with just trying to solve something in the technology function, whereas it should be about really transforming how the business operates. As a participant on these journeys, it can often feel like you are this mountaineer, and you're climbing this mountain, and the air is getting thinner and thinner, and it's exhausting. You can't still see the top or an achievable goal. And invariably also, you might be familiar with the term of false peaks. Invariably, as you get to a brow of a hill, you realize that there is more to go. And you keep getting to the top of every little hill, and there is much more on the journey. Another problem. There's this huge focus on culture. And there's this huge focus on kind of trying to copy and paste culture. But culture is a consequence of the system. So if you imagine with the Matrix, in order to beat the Matrix, you weren't going to create your nice little tropical island and disconnected from the Matrix. In order you had to destroy the Matrix, right? You had to really reinvent the system. And so it's not possible to copy and paste culture. You have to look at the underlying system. Some tips coming your way in a moment. And then we have the innovator's dilemma. Why take the risk of disrupting myself? I've got profits. I've got income coming in. Why should I take the risk of opening up my business to external partners through APIs? So is 10x really achievable, realistically? I think it is, and I'm going to share some particular stories to highlight some of the important principles. Philips Lighting and the consumer brand Philips Hue are running things at a phenomenal scale. 25 million requests a day from various different IoT devices. They run a platform that is 10 times the scale of other platforms, using only 1/10 of the workforce. And so it's a great example of platform thinking. So I want to produce a platform with multiple consumers, and I want that world to flourish, but I don't have to scale up my business in tandem with that expansion of the business. Okay, so I can still be a lean machine because I've got a ruthless focus on repeatability and reusable APIs. Everything Everywhere, a telco that came out of a merger of Orange and T-Mobile. They themselves got acquired by British Telecom last year. They've reduced partner onboarding by 26 times, down from 2 years to 4 weeks, because they are laser focused on highly repeatable processes of partner onboarding and simple reusable APIs. So the world of 2 years was because they were doing bespoke integration for every single partner, and now it's very repeatable. Of course, if you want to do that special relationship and special customization, you can do so, but there is a cost, obviously. Marks & Spencer, a very traditional retailer, known for pants, bras, socks, and good food. They increased the frequency of their digital channel deployments by 30x. Because of an understanding that despite lots of silos, lots of different business units, lots of legacy, if we have this mentality of providing a simple platform of engagement with simple APIs across that very complex world, all of our digital channels, whether used by customers or by staff, can iterate autonomously. And that provided a layer of agility on all those digital channels. Magazine Luiza. You may not have heard of them, but they're actually a really substantial retailer in Brazil. $4 billion turnover, about 800 stores. Completely reinvented themselves from a classic omni-channel play, which is, I'm a physical estate and I want to leverage digital channels. They really flipped that over, so they now see themselves as a platform business with physical channels. And it's a really mature platform play because it's a marketplace. Hence why they can onboard partners quite quickly, down to 2 weeks for complex partners, and increase their product count by 10x. And despite very challenging conditions of trade, their stock price has increased by 57 times in the last 2 years. So all of these examples indicate or demonstrate some really important principles. APIs powering all of the customer experiences. Now, I know there are some organizations where these things are still developed in silos. So one team will be building APIs over here, and another team will be building out APIs over here. And these are very much silos, probably different technology stacks. And there's no community. That's not a good thing to have. So we're managing APIs as this cohesive whole, this catalog for the business. Yes, there will be multiple teams building APIs, but it's managed as a cohesive whole with this community curating it. All of these organizations are leveraging platforms, platform effects, network effects of growth, ecosystems, even if it's just internal. All of these organizations are driving new revenue and growth, perhaps by rapidly onboarding new digital channels, by experimenting with new partnerships quickly, cheaply, and easily, by perhaps directly monetizing APIs. And through some of those statistics, I brought to life that these companies are able to move faster, course correct. Course correction, being adaptive, is really important for your organizations today. So this isn't just about technology. These are things that should excite the business. This is why APIs need to be part of the business, part of the business language. So you, my friends, are the key mobilizers, the key mountaineers, the key people to ensure that APIs don't become this another incremental digital transformation, this next incremental integration project. This isn't about moving data from system A to system B. It's about this, which will help you as an individual, it'll help your team, it'll help your organizations on your journey. So you are this mountaineer. How can you do this with confidence? How can you actually enjoy this journey? Don't compromise on these key points. Leverage APIs as a forcing function. So don't get dragged into kind of business as usual, your usual delivery styles. Use these APIs as a forcing function to demonstrate new ways of working. So that might be from a technology point of view. Might be things like test automation. But it very much means also the business involved. How the business are going to leverage these APIs. So we're going to map out a journey here with some key principles to ensure your success. Principle number 1. Your North Star, your vision. So think big, think 10x, but iterate small. This is so important, we're going to go into this in a bit more detail. So we're going to try and shake out that incremental thinking by having a vision, a North Star vision, but we're going to achieve that by lots of little steps. This is a mountaineering technique. Right? I'm going to climb the Matterhorn tomorrow morning. I'm not, but I wish I was, I must admit. I'm going to climb this mountain. How am I going to do that? Lots and lots of little steps. And all of those steps have got to prove value. And that's exactly what you should be doing on your journey. So don't think of these things as 3-year programs of work. So thinking big should really be seen through this lens of platforms and ecosystems. So what are the opportunities for your organizations? And we had a conversation yesterday with an organization, and it seemed pretty clear that because of where they were, that journey should start with just an internal ecosystem. In a complex organization, if every single team could easily access the data and capabilities across that organization, that is massively transformative. That is definitely 10x. And then when you get comfortable with that, when you get good at that, then start on your external ecosystems. So think about all those different types of ecosystems that you can explore. Map that out in your journey. Now, starting that ecosystem flywheel can be really hard. Many organizations have made the mistake of build it and they will come. It's definitely not that. So you have to think about, how am I going to nurture this ecosystem over time? Is this the product owner? Is this the developer relations? Is this the partner team? Because they understand APIs now and they're helping get this ecosystem moving. Think about that. And of course, yes, things like developer portals, maybe hackathons, whatever. But this is something you have to nurture. When you're on this journey, there's a first mover advantage. So if you're late to the game with a particular ecosystem play, you are at a disadvantage. But think about your core capabilities. And if you're a traditional organization, you've probably got lots of really valuable data. So how can you leverage that to be more competitive than perhaps somebody who is a bit nimbler? Next up, launch and iterate. So we have our 10x vision, whatever that might be. I need to prove business value and confidence incrementally. So be ruthless about delivering business impact, being able to measure that success. So be really clear about how you're going to impact the business. And evangelize. Often forgotten. But I can't emphasize enough the importance of internal marketing, because APIs are invisible unless they go wrong. So typically, you only get the negative press. So internally evangelize is really important. It's really interesting when speaking to a mountaineer friend of mine, talking about the techniques that you use under harsh conditions. So as you're climbing that mountain, you know you've got a long way to go, but they make progress, and mentally, this is how they deal with it. They look for a point of reference that they can see. And it might not be that far away. It might be, just over there. And I will look at that, and I'll be laser focused at that, and I will make lots of little incremental steps towards that. And when I get to it, I will celebrate that little win, and I will continue. That really applies to this idea of thinking big and demonstrating incremental value. Next up, APIs as products. I found it really interesting that yesterday after a talk, there was a lot of engagement about this topic. It can feel a little bit conceptual, but it's really important to think of these APIs packaged up, targeted, and easy to use, and there's a degree of self-service from whoever's using them. So whether the internal developer or the partner can easily identify what's appropriate for them, and they can easily sign up and get access with this packaged product. And I say targeted, so if I'm the bedroom developer versus the strategic enterprise partner, my requirements will be quite different. My expectations will be quite different. My price point will will be quite different. My expectations around service level agreements will be quite different. So they're different products, and they need to be managed as products over the lifetime of their existence. So when you're thinking about packaging up these products, think of the value. These are the things that enable the organization to be able to experiment with new business models, new business partnerships. Hence why it's of interest to the business. Okay, lastly, outside in. We have this great phrase at Google, one of these underlying principles of focus on the user and all else will follow. That's outside in. So it's being really maniacally focused on optimizing for the user. So getting really close to API consumption and the business need. So that might be internal business owners, it might be internal product owners, it might be other technology teams, it might be external partners. Lego has this fantastic phrase with their product team called camping with customers. That's classic product management. So as an API product owner, I actually camp with my consumers to deeply understand where they are today and where they want to go in the future. This is actually kind of classic product management of an ecosystem. And you need to be really data-driven. Another core principle at Google. So we're not looking for instinct or gut. We're looking about being data-driven. And always optimize for consumption. It's really easy to get distracted or drawn or brought down by the complexities of integration. I'm talking about always optimizing for consumption. So whether that's discoverability, onboarding, partner onboarding, developer onboarding, ease of discovery, I think I've already said that, but simple APIs. Focus on the user, and all else will follow. So it's early morning. Perhaps you do have a slight headache from some industrial hardcore nightclub at 3 a.m. Perhaps you are still cynical. How can I still do this with confidence? I am a mountaineer that has yet to scale a substantial peak. We have lots more information on Apigee Compass at this URL here. And it's been out now for about a year, and we've evolved this continually with lots of fresh content and advice. So I'd highly recommend going on there. It's anonymous, it's free to use, we're not trying to track who you are. And you'll be able to score your position today, your ambition, and some critical bits of advice to help you on your journey. So although this data is anonymous, we've kind of aggregated it all up, and we see some interesting things. So businesses are fired up, at least over half of them are fired up about platform strategies. So that's great. They're leveraging ecosystems for strategic advantage. That's also awesome. But we also see quite a significant challenge around just thinking about APIs as integration, thinking about this world down here that is complex. That there are significant challenges around getting executive support. So be really mindful of this on your journey. So as a mountaineer, you will not want to set out unless the conditions are perfect. You'll look for some sunshine, the weather forecast will be good, it won't be snowing too hard, and if you're up on high, you want to avoid avalanches, so you want good, solid snow. The world of digital transformation and 10x, the conditions will never be perfect. There will never be a perfect time to change or disrupt your organization. So don't wait for legacy to be solved. Don't wait for the new architectures to arrive. Don't wait for the new CEO, new CFO. Don't wait for that business directional change because of a new competitor in the marketplace. There will always be substantial change in the modern organization. So don't wait for that and set out, even if there is a blizzard, even if there are impending avalanches. So we have our journey. we have our principles to help you navigate as you traverse this mountainous terrain. So avoid those pitfalls of integration. Avoid those chasms of despair of business and IT. Have your vision and enjoy the journey. Now, if you'd like to learn more about how we can help customers, or indeed any technical questions, then please do visit my colleagues who are at the back, and we have our booth out in the hall. But enjoy your journey. Thank you.